What's up, YouTube? How you guys doing today? Today I got another great book for you. It's called Presence by Cuddy. The subtitle is Bringing Your Boldest Self to Your Biggest Challenges. So that's the promise of this book. Let's get into it. So there are 3 layers of every book I do. First is the core concept, which is the main idea of the book. Then we have the theory, which kind of discusses and gets into the nitty-gritty of the core concept. And then action, which are 3 action steps that you can take in order to apply this book to your life. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's get started. So the first core concept that I want to talk about is this idea of self-affirmation plus enthusiasm equals success. So there was this researcher called Lakshmi Balachandri, and she basically discovered that after looking at many interviews of people pitching their entrepreneurial ideas to venture capitalists, they found that the content and the credentials of the individual mattered less than the enthusiasm and their belief in their project, right? So the nonverbal cues. So that's the enthusiasm side, right? Like nonverbal cues determine your level of success. Nonverbal cues result from your self-affirmation. So these two are tied together, right? What is self-affirmation? Self-affirmation is the belief and trust in your own feelings, values, and abilities. Your honest feelings, values, and abilities. That's what Cuddy says. And self-affirmation is your ability to reflect on yourself and your life and really come up with a solid foundation, a self-identity upon which you can engage the world. So that's the basics of self-affirmation. And when you have self-affirmation, you are able to come across as more confident, more yourself, and your enthusiasm will naturally boil forth when you're talking about your core values and your passions. So that's the basic idea: self-affirmation plus enthusiasm, or belief in yourself plus the emotional result of that results in success. So now let's get into the theory. So first is this idea of story. You have to interpret your life story in a positive way. They actually did this experiment where they looked at a bunch of individuals and they found that those who interpreted their life story in terms of agency, which is personal power, communion, which is connection to others, and redemption, the ability to reinterpret the challenges of their life in a positive way, they were less likely to have mental health issues. Whereas those who viewed their life as contaminated, right, like negative, they interpreted their life story as negative, they were more likely to have mental health issues. So that just goes to show that your perspective determines your reality. So that's the first point. The second point is know your core values, right? What you hold to be true for yourself that is fundamental, right? Your fundamental core values, whether that's love, honesty, wisdom, courage, optimism, whatever your core values are, you have to dig deep and find those values, right? And those values can be seen in the way you treat others and in your behavior. So if you're trying to figure out your core values, work backwards, right? Like look at your interactions with people and say like, oh yeah, I am a nice person, I am kind, I care about what people think. So perhaps compassion is one of my core values, something like that. And then you want to focus on your abilities, your strengths. What are you good at, competence-wise, right? You have values, which are your first principles, your deeply emotionally held commitments. And then you have your strengths, which are your abilities, what you are competent at, whether it's talking to people, whether it's negotiating, whether it's creativity, whatever. You got to know your core strengths. And all of these come together, they're plus signs right there, and they equal synchrony, which is this unity, this balance between your thoughts, emotions, mood, feeling, beliefs, values. It's all the parts of yourself acting in a harmony. So that's the basic theory of self-affirmation theory. And they've actually done experiments, right? They had people talk deliver a lecture in front of a panel of judges, right? A stressful situation for anyone. But before that, they had one group write about their core strengths or their core values. And the other group, they just wrote about something random. And what they found was that the group that talked about their core strengths had less cortisol, the stress hormone, in their bloodstream after this talk was delivered. They took their saliva and they tested it. So what does that mean? That means stress is largely the result of social judgment, right? When you are being judged, you're more likely to get stressed. But if you transfer that power back to yourself, right? If you talk about your core values, who you are as a person, that social judgment, that stress resulting from social judgment goes away or reduces significantly. So yeah, that's the basic idea of synchrony and trusting to your core values. And the same goes for your core strengths. When you reflect on your strengths, that gives you a boost of power, self-efficacy, self-power, an internal locus of control, as they say. So that's the theory and that's the core concept. So 3 action steps that you can take. First is focus on yourself instead of others. When you're going into a business meeting or when you're going into any career development program, you need to affirm your core values, self-affirmation, affirm your core values, your strengths before you go into the meeting so you're able to bring your best self to that meeting or to that social situation. It doesn't have to be a meeting. So focus on yourself. Don't focus on what other people think. And this is just good general life advice. Don't focus on it, right? Take the feedback that's constructive, but don't focus on other people. Second, believe, trust. Self-affirmation cannot survive without trust in your deepest values and feelings. Whether you can trust what you hold to be valuable, that is essential. So believe in yourself, right? Trust in yourself. And beliefs are often self-fulfilling prophecies. When you believe in your values, when you believe in your project, when you believe in your little business, you're more likely to succeed because you're more willing to surmount the obstacles in your path. So there's that. And finally, this is Amy Cuddy's idea, power pose. So there is a strong connection between the mind and the body, right? And have you seen athletes when they win a competition? They're not hanging their heads down like this. They're looking up. They're putting their hands in the air. They're expanded. Their body posture is expanded, right? They hold their shoulders back, and that is a power posture, right? So before a test or before anything, if you stand like Superman or Wonder Woman, right? Just stand up straight. Put your hands on your hips. If you don't think that's weird, then just do something else. Just stand up straight. Affirm your core values and walk into that test with confidence. There will be a mind-body connection between those two things. So that's the story. I hope you guys enjoyed this little talk on Presence by Amy Cuddy. It's a great book. I hope you check it out and have a good day.